And because he's fully God and fully man, he obeys the law of God on our behalf in his active obedience. And then in his passive obedience, God made him who knew no sin to be sin for us. All we like sheep had gone astray. Each of us had turned to his own way, but God laid upon him the iniquity of us all. And Christ died for sin once for all, the just for the unjust. And God imputes our sinfulness to him. And he nails our sinfulness to the tree. And Christ dies and raises again on the third day for our justification.
When did the gospel replace the Torah? People love to say, he's preaching a different gospel. And honestly, I just laugh. You see, I'm not preaching the gospel at all, because in my view, the gospel and the Torah are two different messages. So I'm going to break this down for you. When I teach the Torah, folks warn others, don't listen to him. He's preaching a different Jesus. And I'm like, yeah, duh. I'm not preaching the gospel or Jesus. I'm teaching what the God of the Torah says. You see, there's a difference between following the God described in the Hebrew scriptures and following the Jesus described in the Greek scriptures. So, who should I believe? The Hebrew scriptures, what Christians call the Old Testament, tell us over and over to believe and follow God alone. No other gods, no intermediaries. It's very clear. But when I read the Greek scriptures, also known as the New Testament, I'm told to follow Jesus. And sometimes that message seems to overshadow or even contradict what the Torah teaches. So here's the $1 million question. Did the gospel actually replace the Torah? Or are we missing something? So first, let's get our definition straight. The Torah is the first 5 books of the Hebrew Bible. That's Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. It's the foundation of everything in the Jewish faith and, by extension, Christianity. The Torah isn't just a set of laws. It's the story of God's covenant with Israel, the blueprint for how to live, and the source of God's wisdom. Now, the Gospels, as presented in the New Testament, is the message about Jesus, his life, death, his resurrection, and what it means for salvation. But here's where things get interesting. Some of the Christians claim that Jesus fulfilled the Torah, and therefore we don't need to follow that anymore. But what does that actually mean? Let's look at what Jesus himself says in Matthew 5:17. Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them. Now, a lot of people interpret fulfill as finish or replace, but in context, Jesus is actually affirming the Torah's ongoing validity. He's saying, don't ever think I came to abolish the Torah. In fact, he goes on to say that not even the smallest letter will disappear from the Torah until everything is accomplished. So, according to the Gospels, Jesus didn't abolish the Torah, he interpreted it, sometimes in ways that challenged the religious leaders of his day, but always affirming its authority. In other words, Jesus saw himself as bringing out the deeper meaning of the Torah, not canceling it. So why do some people act like the gospel replaced the Torah? Well, it comes down to interpretation. Over time, Christian leaders such as Paul began to teach that Jesus' fulfillment of the Torah meant its commandments were no longer binding for believers. See, this is where you get ideas like the law is obsolete or we're under grace, not law. But here's the crucial point. Christianity is built on the foundation of the Hebrew Bible. If the Hebrew scriptures aren't true, the New Testament can't stand because all of its claims about Jesus and salvation are rooted in those earlier texts. As the saying goes, while it is possible for the New Testament to be false and the Hebrew scriptures to be true, it is impossible for the Hebrew scriptures to be false and the New Testament to be true. Some argue that the Torah and the Gospels are two parts of a single unfolding story. The Torah lays the foundation and the Gospel builds upon it, with Jesus as the ultimate interpreter and embodiment of God's wisdom. Others see a clear break. The Gospel replaces the Torah, and we're no longer bound by its commandments. My take: when I teach the Torah, I'm not preaching the Gospel. I'm inviting people to return to the original message. That is, to believe in and follow the God of the Torah. That's not a different gospel, it's a different conversation entirely. So, did the gospel replace the Torah? According to Jesus, no. The Torah remains valid, and his mission was to fulfill and interpret it, not abolish it. The real question is, are we willing to wrestle with both messages, or are we just looking for the easy way out? Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you see the Torah and the gospel as compatible, or are they fundamentally different? And if you want more deep dives into Hebrew scriptures, make sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching and keep seeking truth.